Are you stuck watching everyone else level up their AI skills while you are, well, still figuring things out? Or maybe you know AI is where the big opportunities are, but you're just not sure how to actually break in. Look, I get it. The AI field can feel overwhelming. But here's the thing, you don't need to know everything, you just need to know the right things. And today we are talking about Azure's Conversational Language Understanding, or CLU for short. And before you click away thinking that this sounds too technical, stay with me. This is the exact technology behind tools like Alexa and Google Assistant. Pretty cool, right? And in this video, we are going to break down how to set up a CLU model, work with intents and entities, and basically teach AI to understand what people actually mean when they talk. And trust me, once you understand this, you're not just learning a tool, you are opening doors to roles like AI engineer, machine learning developer, even data scientist. These aren't just fancy titles, they are high-paying positions that companies are desperately trying to fill right now. And today's video is part of our AI, ML, Gen AI and Agentic AI job-oriented masterclass. We have helped people like Debashi, Shrija, Mark and many go from where you are right now to landing amazing jobs in AI. Real people, real results. And one more thing, we are running a free 90-minute masterclass where we'll walk you through exactly how to land your first AI job. No fluff, just the actual roadmap. The link's right there in the description and pinned comments, so make sure that you grab your spot now. So now let's get into the video.
So when we are saying conversational language understanding, let us go one by one. So when we are talking about conversational language understanding, okay, CLU, or you can call it as conversational language understanding. Okay, to do this part, we need to use the same language service. Need to use the same language service. Plus, we need to fine tune that. Okay, or I can say I'll not use the word fine tune. I'll say we need to custom tune the existing language model that is there at the back end, which is giving us this service. Okay, so we need to fine tune the language model from Azure. And how do we custom tune the model? By passing our data. Okay, so we will go ahead and pass some data. Okay, once we pass the data, we will be able to go ahead and get some response in a conversational way. And how is it different? Conversational language understanding, just to keep it simple, suppose I have a Google Assistant or an Siri or a Alexa. Okay, suppose I have some gadget, okay, at my home, which can be an Alexa. And suppose if I ask Alexa, suppose I'm just asking, suppose your Alexa is so smart that it is connected. Suppose it is, just to keep it simple, we have different devices, right? Suppose it is connected to your electrical systems at home. Okay, so suppose it is connected to electrical equipments. Okay, and consider one of the equipment as a fan. Okay, suppose I'm coming from out. The moment I come, I have a gadget. Okay, this is my, you can say, device. Okay, and what I'm going to say, this device can hear me. Okay, so this device can take the input. Fine. So I have a device which can take the input of a human. Okay, in the form of speech, in the form of, generally it will take it in the form of speech, right? But how do we pass? When we train it, we can train it with speech, to be very frank, but generally how do we train? At the time of training, it takes the input in the form of speech, but how was it trained? It was trained on huge amount of some text data, and that text data has seen, when we talk about this text data, it has seen people speaking. Okay, people's speech, you can say. Okay, at the time of training. So now when I say this people's speech at the time of training, if I want to switch on the fan, I have a way to say, maybe I can say fan on. Okay, someone can say with a more rude way, fan. Okay, someone can say fan please. Someone can say, can I have a fan? Now when I say this, can I have a fan, to a person who is going to you can say, who is going to sell me the fan, for that person it is going to show the fan, right? But when I say can I have a fan, basically I mean to say that can I have my fan on, right? This is what I'm trying to say. So any person can use any kind of utterances. This is what we call utterances. Okay, the more the utterance, the better it will be for the model to get custom tune on the way you speak. Okay, again I'll repeat, the more the utterances, the better it will be for the model to understand how does the person speak. Generally you should have millions of records. Okay, you should have as much record as possible. The more record we have, that means the more dialect, the more speech we have, and that can be really helpful. Okay, for the model to understand what is the person asking. So this all things that you see on the screen are called as utterances. Okay. Now what happens? Utterances is something that the person has uttered. It is basically the input, right? So whatever the person has, okay, this same thing will go in speech and that will be actually converted into text. Speech will be getting converted to text, right? So whatever you speak will be converted to text, processed by the gadget. Okay, and the gadget has been trained on this kind of utterances, and it understands something from the utterance. Okay, so we have something called as utterances. In the utterances we try to find the intent. Intent means what does the user want. So the intent of the person is pretty clear. He wants to switch on, but it may not only be limited to fan, right? Intent is pretty clear. He wants to switch on something, and in the intent we need to find the entity. Entity basically means, I'll just put it simple way, name, place, or thing. Consider it that way only. Okay. In my case, entity is what? Fan, right? Now, someone can have a tube light. Suppose the sentence is, can I have a tube light? Okay. Can I have a geyser? Can I have a stove? I'm just giving an example. Okay. So the point is, utterances will be there. Whatever human speaks, okay, that will be processed by the gadget. Once the user understands the intent, it will try to find where to take this action. This is what happens, right? So it understands the intent and it understands the action is to switch on. So where will it go? Actually, this point is actually, just to keep it simple, there will be a sensor. I'm just helping you understand. Okay, there will be a electromechanical sensor which is actually going to go ahead and take action on behalf of user to switch on the fan, switch off the fan, switch on the light, geyser, anything that you may speak of. Okay, close the door, open the door, whatever you want to do. Okay, and everyone have their own way to do the things, right? Like to say the things. In that way we have utterances, and utterance will have intent, and one intent can have more than one entity. Remember, it can be many entities. Okay, and suppose there is a fan, and suppose there is a tube light also, to which this device is connected via sensor. Suppose there is a geyser also, to which this device is connected. Suppose to the door also. So based on what the user says, it will automatically go ahead and take action. Simple. Okay, so you have utterances, then you find the intent. Okay, and in one sentence we can have more than one intent also. It's not like we can only have one intent. Okay, so we can have more than one intent also. Fine, that is also possible. And then we can have more than one entity also, or we can have multiple sentences spoken by the individual. Okay, so this is what we call as conversational language understanding. When we talk about conversational language understanding, we basically mean to say that the device should be able to understand what I'm trying to say. That does not happen in question answering. Just to keep it simple, when I talk about question answering, I'll just show you this one. When I talk about question answering, user submits a question, expects an answer. Here, the user expects actually an action, because what's the purpose of creating this kind of a thing until it is not able to take action? That action can be virtual. Maybe I'm going to ask, what's the weather? Someone is going to say, tell me the weather. Someone might say, hey, I'm not happy. Help me out with weather. I'm just telling you something. Okay. So action can be virtual and action can be physical. Okay. That can be taken care by your language understanding solution. Here, it expects an answer to be picked up from the database. It tries to match the question to an answer in the knowledge base. Okay. Here, and it actually matches the answer in the knowledge base. It does not do any natural language thing. generative thing. It just matches the answer. Here, we may feel like it is doing natural language, but it is not. It is doing natural language, but it is not doing generative work. The way the LLM works, you can say this is a preliminary stage of generative AI, language understanding thing. Okay, wherein there are some models that are being utilized, which are able to go ahead and do this kind of a work. So it understands, interpret the utterance, finds the intent, and then finds the entity where to take action. Here, the response is static. And when it comes to language understanding, the response are matching the intent and then giving a response. And mostly actions. Okay. Here, the client presents the answer. Here, it is responsible for performing action based on the detected intent. This is where IoT devices come into picture, right? So IoT devices are devices which can do things for you, Internet of Things for you. They can understand the intent, then take it or process them and give it to the entity, and then they can perform actions. All right. This is one thing that I wanted to help you understand. Now, when I'm talking about this conversational language understanding, I told you there is an application. The user, an app accepts the input from the user. Maybe it is a speech, maybe it is a text. Generally, it will be a speech, generally, okay? But it can also be a text. Suppose you have created an application that can understand the intent rather than matching the question answer pair to give the response, maybe for a railway, okay, for the booking of flight or maybe for the booking of train tickets, something. Okay, so user it gives the input accepted by the application. Okay, and then the model determines the meaning, the user's intent, and then performs an action. So what happens, the to perform the action, it will connect to the endpoint in the cloud, and then it will be able to give the reaction response. Okay, this is the simple thing. And this activity of being able to go to the server and get the response back is called as natural language understanding. And conversational language understanding is part of natural language understanding. Okay, fine. And what do we use for this? We use something called as language service. Okay, now what I'm going to do, let me just come up here and let me open the portal. So let me go to the language service and let me hit on create. Let me select language understanding. This is what is required. Okay, now I can just click on this. Okay, now I can create a resource group. Let me call it as Jalal resource group. STS2 maybe. Let me call as lang thing. And let me select the pricing tier. Maybe standard, I'm okay with that. Okay, storage account is required. So let me create a storage account. I'll just say strjk090 for uniformity. Let me select the local redundant, which is standard local redundant storage, which is not going to do any duplication of data in place of server issue or maybe network issue or maybe the server down. Okay, I'm just trying to create one service H2S2. This is all fine. Let me create. Now, till the time it is getting created, let me also create OpenAI, Azure OpenAI. For a reason, I'm trying to create this. Let me go to OpenAI and I'll try to tell you what I'm trying to do. Let me select the same resource group. Let me select the same region also. Let me call it as OpenAI JK090 maybe standard and hitting on create. If you want to build, maybe your data is residing somewhere, and if you want to pass it here, then you can connect it to storage. That is also possible, but right now not required. Yeah, we can connect. We are not doing right now, but suppose if you have an SDK and we want to connect to that, we can do that. Okay, like maybe I want to connect it from a storage and get the response. At that point, it might be required. Then you can create and connect it. That's not a problem. Now let me just go to Azure OpenAI. I'm doing it for a purpose because I'll just check it out. Last time, the I'll tell you what is the purpose. I want to incorporate this maybe OpenAI to be able to generate some intent and utterances for me. Let me go to the deployment and let us deploy a model here. HTS2 hopefully. Yeah, that should work. Deploy it. Now what I'm going to do, we'll go to language.cognitive.azure.com. The moment I go to this, I need to have a resource or I can create it from here, but need to have a subscription to create that. So now I'll just click on sign in. I need to select the correct account. And once I select the account, it will automatically give a pop-up. Let me just do it twice, maybe. Now I can select my resource. And here we go. Okay. I've just added that resource right now here. Now what I'm going to do, just to keep the thing simple, we'll just take it from here because this is very guided approach. So maybe I want to create an application that can tell me the time in the clock. So right now we are not connecting it to any action-based application, to be very frank. I'll be very honest. But if we connect, then it can understand and then ask the device to take an action and then we can get a response back on that. Right now, we'll just create a application that will understand the intent and then give the entity back. Okay, this is what we are trying to do. So let me just create this. I'm just going to give it a name. I'll come here and maybe I want to create conversational language understanding. Here, I'll give the name to my project. This is okay. If you want to enable multi-language, you can do that. And here I want to say that I want to have a natural language clock. And we do have a lot of expectation from the certification things, okay, but always keep your expectation low and understand the process. This certifications does help you to understand the overall theme of the course that goes, okay. Or you can say once we get into this, then other things can be pretty easy for us. So right now I'm just going to go to this option and create a conversational language understanding thing. By default in the schema, we will have one intent, but we do know that this intent, whenever and there is entity, the intent and entity is bounded to something very important, which is the utterance, right? So first we can see one intent, which is none. Suppose if I want to add more intent, maybe I want to say get time, get day, get date, we can do that. So let me click on this and let me just call the intent. Okay, I'm going to say add intent, which is get time. Maybe I want to say get day. So I'll just say get day. And maybe time, day, and date also. Maybe I want to get. So I've added 3. Okay. Now here you can see basically there are 2 sentences. Utterance. Book me a flight to Rio next week. Fly me to Rio on the 24th. In both, the intent is to book flight. So intent may not be part of the sentence. Always understand. Intent is a high level adjective that defines what is the person trying to do. It's not like book a flight word will be there, book flight will be there, nothing as such. It's the overall theme that the person is trying to say. Maybe the person wants to say, I'm going to catch a flight next week. That can also fall under the intent, which is book flight. So whenever we have this intent are, you can say more of an adjective or features that is going to define what the sentence is basically going to do. So what will be there in the sentences? The sentence will have its utterance, and there will be an entity within the utterance. Simple. Entity will be always there. Okay. Entity will be there and utterance will be there. Intent may not be part of the session most of the time that you define. Okay. But your utterances will be bound to this intents. I'll tell you how. Okay. Now, once we come here, we have defined 3 intents. Yeah, intent. Now what I'm going to do, we need to go to something called as data labeling. So let me go to data labeling. The moment I go to data labeling, here you can see we can upload utterance file. We can suggest utterances. Now, if I click on this, first let me upload some utterances. What's the time? We do not have something to add it this way. So let me just call it. We can add manually, but generally manually can be very tough, right? So right now I'll just select get time, and here I'm adding the utterances. What's the time is the first utterance. Second, what is the time? I told you people can speak in different ways. So second is what is the time? Third, what time is it? We can put, as I told you, the more the data, the better it will be for the model to make sense. Okay. In the production, we will have the data that we can upload in the JSON, and there is a format, particular format that can be used to get the data in that format. Okay, so now I'm just adding something in this. Now, once I add here, you can see we have just defined what is this intent, what is this utterance. Now we need to define the entity also, correct? Making sense? We need to define the entity also. Entity, what do you think is the entity? Is there any entity in this sentence right now? Entity was what? Name, place, or thing. Do you see any entity? Name, place. Is there any entity right now? Tell me the time. What is the time? Time is the intent to be. I told you, time is not the entity. Where will the action be taken, Hamad? That is the entity. So in this sentence, do we have entity right now? If I say, tell me the time of London, then we have entity, right? Making sense? So right now we are not passing an entity, just helping you understand. Okay. Now we'll change this. We'll change this. Okay. Maybe for the intent, which is what day is it? You can see. I just copy this. I'll come here. I'll just say get day, and let me just put it here. What day is it? And then let me ask, what's the day? And here again, there is no entity. Okay. You're just putting, helping you understand that what is the process. Okay. What is the date today? Again, there is no entity. It's just time. Okay. There is an intent that the person is trying to find time. Okay. Find day. Okay. Something is there, but find date also. So now let me just select date. Now let me just put some more. What date is this? What's the date? And we'll add entity also. Do not worry. Okay. Then what is the date today? And then we can add some more, like what's today's date. Okay, now once this is all done, let me save the changes. And before that, let me just ask it to suggest some utterances to me. I'll click on suggest utterances. Okay, this is not supported in the region of, I thought East2S2 will support. East2S supports. I wanted to use a GPT to be able to do the things, but it's not supported. Okay, so the point is we can connect the deployment and just select the intent, and then it will automatically, we can ask it to generate utterances, and then we'll get the utterances. That utterances may have entity, may not have entity, but we'll get huge amount of utterances. The only thing right now is you can understand the issue is this. I wanted it to be in which region? I thought East2S2 will support. It's South Central US, West Europe, and East US does support utterances with GPT. But you can try that out. Okay, if that works, that's great, but I don't think it will work. It's clearly mentioned that it should be East US, so I don't think it will work. Can you see? I do have, but I can generate because it's not supported in this region. No worries. Just wanted to try that out, but really sorry. Okay. Then let me just do one thing. Let me just go to the training job. And now let me just start a training job. Let me call it as a model, which is a clock model. I'll give a name, same thing that we did. And again, I'm okay with standard training. Let me click on train. Now it is going to train. Then we'll see the performance of the model. This is custom trained, and then we can deploy the model and test the model. Let it get trained. Okay. Till the time it is getting trained, It is going to get trained on this data, right? I'll just show you some more things. Okay, now we can ask these questions later. Now let me add the entities also. Let me add an entity called as location. Okay, so I'll go to this add entity. Let me add an entity called as location. Now there are different types of entity. This is what we give. Learned and list are entities that we give. Okay, then there are pre-built entity. What is pre-built? I'll show you the pre-built entities option. These are the pre-built entities. This one, quantities, date, time, email, phone number, URL. It automatically, this pre-built entities are already there that can be used. Okay, or you can define your own regular expression as an entity. Totally possible. Right now I'll go with learned and I'll say location. Okay, now when I say location, let me just say, maybe I'll select this or maybe add some more. We can edit the already existing sentence also, but let me just add some new sentences. Okay, so let me add a sentence in what? In get time. We could have edited the earlier existing sentence also. Okay, I'll just add what is the time. Now I can click on the square brace and this place, just need to click and now I can select location. Okay, this is my entity. So I am defining everything. Let me just say, tell me the time in Paris. So now we are defining a full form thing. I'll go hover over this, select location, done. Do we have some more sentences that we can enter? What's the time in New York? Okay, now let me just add, enter New York. Let me select location. Can one sentence have more than one thing? Absolutely. It can have more than one entity also. Okay, intent will be one of a sentence. Entity can be many. There can also be more than one intent, but generally you will have one intent per sentence. Now, what's the date today? Okay, let me just put it this way. So I have added location. Let me add a list entity, which is a weekday. Now, how many days do we have in a week? It's 7, right? So generally, when I'm saying weekend or weekday, right? Weekday I'm saying, so it will be 5. Okay. Or we can consider all the days also. I think we are considering all days, not just weekend. So now let me click on this. Let me go to list and let me type here weekday. You can give any name. Let me click on add entity. Now, just see on the right side, I'll click on this weekday. Before that, let me save the changes. Now let me click on weekday and here I can use that weekday thing here itself. Okay, so I have clicked on weekday, right? So now I have something called as weekday. Okay, now I can add a list. Okay, so anything think that should be added. 1 second. Data labeling. I have created weekday. Think I can edit it. Yeah, I can click on edit. Why I'm not able to see? It should be there somewhere. The weekday I just created. Yeah, somewhere. It's a list, right? Okay, this is where I can create. So let me just, this is getting into that only. It is getting into that only. Let me just type Sunday. And if you want to add synonyms, maybe someone can say, what's the time on sun? Okay, so you can add that. Come out of it. It will show up this as, you can add suns also. Maybe I want to put it this way. Come out of it, or you can do a tab and then hit on save. These are synonyms also. So I've added synonym for Sunday. Let me call Monday. Monday. Let me click on outside and let me click on save. Similarly, let me add for Tuesday. I may call as Tue. Tab I may call as Tues also. Just putting some things, and let me just click on this. Now, similarly, let me add a pre-built entity. If you can see, date, time, email, general event, there are so many entities that are available. Let me just call as email. Okay, I'm just adding this directly. Okay, now if I come to the data labels, I can go to the data label, yeah, schema definition, data labeling, and here let me add one more, which is maybe I have just added location, time. Let me add one more entity, call it as, I think I have already added entity. Let me add an utterance in that entity. So we do have this intents. Okay, let me create an intent first. Okay, I'll just come here. Let me create an intent. Yeah, I've just created an intent called as meeting. Now after this, let me go to the data label. Let me create I already have an entity, right? So I'll just say, select that meeting. And here I can say, I will be meeting you on the email. Just adding that. And let me just check whether we can do that. Right now I cannot see. So I think it should be automatically available because I do not see that. Okay, I need to select that entity pre-built. I think I have already created something, right? Email, I have already added. I'm just checking. Pre-built, I have just added email. It should automatically be able to take it up. Pre-built is there, the list is there. This is, I think I've already added. Let me just save. Let me just select. This is more like a trained, no, this is not a pre-built one. This is also, I think this is pre-built email. Okay. Now, yeah, this is mine and this is the color change you can see, right? So now I have this and now let me just click on save. You can upload and you can suggest utterances. Now, once this is done, I have already trained a model. If you remember, the model is already trained. Let me select and let me just start a training job again. Let me override the already existing trained model and let me just click on train. And I'll just say override and train. Now, once it is trained, the earlier training, you can see it here. This was the training. If you want to see the output, you can go to the model performance and here we are able to see the precision, recall and F1 score. There are some guidance that intent was less, test set was not there. Okay, distinct. This is good. Intents in trainings sets are clearly distinct, which is good. And we can check the confusion metrics also. Okay, so we can look into those aspects right now. This is getting trained. Okay, this is done. Now we can click on this. We can go to the model output and we can see this is what we are able to get. Then we can deploy a model. Click on add deployment, give a deployment name. I'll just say clock deployed. Okay, now I can select the model which has been trained. Region is okay and I can click on deploy. Now this is done. Now we can go to test. We can come here, can select the model and let me just ask. I like to know the time in London. And now let me just hit the run test and just see the result. What is the top intent? Get time. What is the entity? Location. I did not train it on Mumbai. Let me just type Mumbai. Still, it is able to find that Mumbai's location. Let me just try Mumbaikar. I'm just putting some weird thing. Sorry. Let me just try. Just putting it for the reference to help you understand. Can you see no entity is fine? It automatically understood that Mumbaikar is not the entity. It may error, okay, sometimes if it has not seen those words. The more the data it has seen, the better it can be. If I change this to this Mumbai space Kar, still it is not able to find. Now, if I run this again, we can get date, but in the date there was no entity, It understands that I'm trying to visit Mumbai. Okay. Let me just say, I like to see the time in Mumbai. Helping you understand, okay, how does it process? Now you can see it is taking Mumbaikar as an entity. Why is it? Because it has not seen that Mumbaikar is actually something else as an entity. It's people, right? But since I have not trained, it's taking the nearest possible thing. Okay. But why is it? Because it is attached to first, it should be attached to the intent. It might have seen, then it will work. Now, if I go to JSON, here you can see this is what I'm getting. So the query was, I like to see time in Mumbai. Prediction is top intent is get time. Project kind is conversational language understanding. In the intents, it first found the get time with only the confidence of 0.65. Then get date was also there at low confidence. Then get day. Then meeting. If you remember, I have created an intent by the name meeting. Okay, and then a category. There is no category as such. And now if I go down, location with this is the text. Offset means at which point it starts, what is the total length, and how much confident was it. Now I'm able to get this. Now, if we pass this information to any action-based IoT device via a sensor, it may be able to go ahead and take action that we would like to see the time, and then it tells the time, right? Using that, understands the language, gives the response, again using a language at that point of time in that system, and then gives you the response. Okay, now this is one thing that I wanted to highlight with regard to this conversational language understanding. You can go to the project setting also, and you can change the threshold. You can make it multilingual. And this, always remember, this is the key, the same key that was there for the language. But one important thing that you need to understand is, you can say that if I come here, okay, the key will be the same. But if I go to deploy model, if I select this, okay, if I click on prediction URL, the prediction URL will be different. This this is attaching. If you remember, this is my endpoint. I'll just show you. I'll go to portal.azure.com. Let me open the language. Now we are not using the language endpoint. We are using an extension of the language endpoint. See, language endpoint added at link jk090 cognitiveservice.azure.com. This is for language. And for my custom model, it is beyond that. Can you see language? Analyze conversations, /analyze conversation, /API version. This is the thing. So we are passing this aspect. Then we will use this as an endpoint URL, the prediction URL. Making sense? Depends. If your purpose is getting served using conversational language understanding, which is costing you a lower rate, then you may not go ahead with generative AI. You can do that. Generative AI can help you generate the content, right? It's like here also we have generative AI embedded, right? But to create a system, we may require a language understanding thing, which can be done by a generative AI also. But if that cost can be lowered, then you can go ahead with this services also. It's we can set that confidence percent. Like we can set it, to be very frank, that if it goes beyond 80%, then only go ahead and do the action, or else say I cannot do the action because the confidence is below 80%. You can set those markers. All right, then I wanted to highlight about this to all of you. And let me just go through this thing. So you can see what is the time. Intent is target time. I told you, you define the intent, you define the location, and then you tag the location. See, location is the keyword. Okay, location is the entity, keyword is London. Here, what's the weather forecast for Paris? The intent is predefined get weather. Location is Paris, which is the entity. Will I need an umbrella tonight? Tonight, okay? Time. Can you see? We are saying time. We will tag this word with the entity time. What's the forecast for sea till tomorrow? And again, I'm saying location. Tomorrow is time. So we can have two entities. I told intent will be one. I told earlier intent can be many, but generally intent will be one. Entities can be many, which can take actions. Turn the lights on. We are saying turn on device. Device is we are giving the intent as turn on device. Entity is device, which we have defined, under which we have lights and fan. I told you we have machine learned entity, list entity, and pre-built entity. And we have talked about pre-built also. Okay. Now, let me go back. Now, this is what comes with pre-configured summarization and all this. What comes with learn feature? Conversational language understanding. For this, we need to go ahead and learned. I have already explained all this, right? We need to deploy. And we have already trained, tested, deployed, and reviewed the prediction.
And that's a wrap. We have covered the core principles of conversational language understanding with Azure, from setting up your model to defining intents and entities. So whether you're targeting roles like AI engineer, data scientist, or machine learning developer, understanding CLU is essential for building smart conversational AI systems. And if you are ready to accelerate your AI journey, don't miss our free 90-minute masterclass. Register now through the link in the description or pinned comments. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video.